Welcome back to my channel, everyone. Today's book review is on a physics book written for the non-scientist, where we explore the universe in your hand, by Christophe Galford, a former student of Stephen Hawking. Stephen Hawking's mentioned quite a bit in this book. This book is in the form of a Gedenken experiment. We go places where only the mind can visit. The Big Bang and before, the center of the Earth, the dark side of the moon, places that we just can't probe with anything other than the mind's eye. And the book is really unique in that way. As the book opens up, you are on a beach and you're looking out at the stars, admiring the universe, and your consciousness separates from your body. You go into outer space, and along with the author, you explore many different regions of space-time. And the author explains, in layman's terms, what's happening and how things work. Very good book. It's super unique in the way that it's a journey that you are on and working with the author and some other characters that come into play here. I've read quite a few of these. Astrophysics for People in a Hurry by Neil deGrasse Tyson, Stephen Hawking's, Carlo Rovelli's, things like that. This one truly is unique, and I think it was the deepest, most thought-provoking physics book for the non-scientist that I've ever read. This is the best one, although I do have a couple of issues with it. In this book, the author brings three different worlds together and into perspective for the non-physicist. The Newtonian world, our everyday physics that we experience here on Earth, gravity and all of those kinds of things. The Einsteinian world of the big outer space, the Big Bang, all those kinds of concepts. And then the quantum world that is really strange and unusual, counterintuitive. And I think that the author spends more time in the quantum world than anywhere else. You're going back and forth from outer space back to the Earth to regroup, to go now into the quantum world and experience particles and the strangeness that is quantum. Really interesting that he does that. It's almost like you are in a novel and you're going on this adventure, but it's non-fictional, everything that's happening. So that's really interesting. You know, I've never read one of these books that was like that. Usually the author explains things throughout the book, but you're not a character in it. So totally unique and cool. I loved that he does that in this book. One problem I had with this book, in the middle, a section of around 100 pages or so, we're in the quantum world, and the author is explaining how particles work, electrons, photons, all of these kinds of things. And he lost me for a little bit. It seemed almost like maybe the author forgot for a moment who his audience was, and it got a bit complex. I got lost, and I tried to read things over, and eventually I was just reading, trying to get through that section so that I could go on and explore more of the universe and get to the end of the book. And I did. I persevered. I pushed through that. But that's my only real criticism of this book, is that the section on particles in the middle of the book, toward the end, was very in-depth, and it was confusing, and I got lost, and I just wanted to get through it. But it was such a good book other than that, that I persevered and got through that and finished the book, and I really enjoyed it. This is the most thought-provoking science book for the non-physicist that I have ever read. In the end of this, we finish up with string theory, or M theory, and it really goes in depth about the multiverses and all of this really out of this world, literally, no pun intended, sort of thing. And just an excellent job by this guy. I've never heard of this guy, but he's like the best author that I've ever read with this kind of book. And I really look forward to reading some more books by him in the future. It was that great. Even though I'm criticizing it, I'm going to encourage you to read this one, The Universe in Your Hand by Christophe Galford. I'm giving this book 4 stars out of 5. If it wouldn't have been for that dragging in the middle with the particle world and the confusing nature of that literature in the center of this book, I'd give it 5 stars. I would beg you to read this one if it wasn't for that. But I'm still encouraging you to read this book. It's almost 400 pages. It's super thought-provoking. It's easy to understand if you have no background in science or mathematics. I think there may be only one piece of mathematics in this book. One equation shows up, E equals mc squared. Other than that, there's no numbers on the pages. It isn't extremely confusing other than that section on particles. And you may think that that wasn't confusing. Maybe it was just me. Maybe I missed something and it made it a little bit hard for me to comprehend. The Universe in Your Hand by Christophe Galford. 4-star review. Read it, folks.